KIMT News 3, coverage you can count on. This is KIMT News 3 at 6.
A high-speed chase on Interstate 90 ends with 2 arrests in Albert Lea. We're live where the pursuit by state troopers and Albert Lea police came to an end.
And I'm tracking clearing skies and how long they'll be sticking around. And a power outage shuts down Rochester's entire law enforcement center. We're finding out how the outage impacts security.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm George Mallet.
And I'm Katie Lang.
And we begin with breaking news just over an hour ago. A vehicle accident in Rochester backed up traffic at a busy intersection. This happened at the crossing of 11th Avenue and 12th Street Southeast at around 4:30 this afternoon. That's a heavy time, obviously, for traffic. Law enforcement telling our reporter on scene that 2 vehicles collided right in front of Mackin Funeral Home. 2 people transported to St. Mary's Hospital with minor injuries. We will continue to follow up with law enforcement throughout the evening, so stay tuned for the latest.
Well, now to a developing story out of Albert Lea tonight. A pursuit from Wells on I-90 ends with 2 people arrested at Sportsman Tavern off of East Clark Street. Several witnesses reported a heavy law enforcement throughout the city this afternoon, including a helicopter patrolling the area. And you can see the tavern in those pictures there was surrounded, and we received those photos thanks to Robert Hoffman.
KIMT News 3's Isabella Basco has been way out in front on this story in Albert Lea, watching the aftermath unfold.
And she joins us live. Isabella, what do you know right now?
Katie and George, it was just when I arrived on the scene when the state troopers and the police cars were lining up outside of Sportsman Tavern. And here's what we know so far. It was around 1:15 p.m. when that pursuit began on Interstate 90 near Wells. Around 15 minutes later, that pursuit crossed over into Albert Lea. And it was just before 3 o'clock when the 2 suspects were arrested inside of Sportsman Tavern. And now it's likely that those suspects are going to be taken into Faribault County. I've spoken to several witnesses on the scene, including one employee here at Sportsman Tavern who told me just how tense the situation was.
Well, I turned around and these guys were in the Sportsman, and somebody had just told me there was a manhunt, and I screamed because they scared me. They came in our back door, which we don't use.
I'll be sticking around Albert Lea to tell you more details. As state troopers and police have told me, it's an ongoing investigation. We're working to get more details in for you. But for now, reporting live in Albert Lea, Isabella Basco, KIMT News 3.
All right, thank you very much, Isabella. And as she did mention, this is a developing story, so stay tuned on air and online as KIMT continues to dig into what exactly happened here today.
Well, tonight, the Olmsted County Government Center is once again up and running after power had to be turned off for almost 2 hours this morning.
KIMT News 3's Annalise Johnson is finding out why it happened in the first place and what security measures were taken during the outage.
A circuit breaker in the detention center of the Government Center is to blame for this morning's power outage. When the circuit breaker failed, the only way to safely replace it was to shut down power to the entire building. Here's a look at the scene outside the Government Center just before 10 a.m. The county tells KIMT the sheriff's office is prepared for events like this and have a power outage protocol, including manning the doors to keep the building secure and letting people know they'll have to come back when the building reopens.
They staff individuals at different doors around the building, and then we also have security and access staff that take care of card access, card readers, letting the public know that the building is closed.
The Government Center will be having a scheduled shutdown on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. In Rochester, Annalise Johnson, KIMT News 3.
Well, during the outage, the detention center was on lockdown. As for the City Hall side of the Government Center, it was not affected by the shutdown.
I'll talk about a dismal mixed bag today. Chilly, damp, fog, rain, snow. Am I leaving anything out?
No, unfortunately, sunshine. You're leaving sunshine out. The real concern here tonight, though, is whether or not roads will become slick. So for the latest expert analysis on what to expect for your evening travels, here is KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox.
Thank you very much, Katie and George. Yes, the concern turns to these wet roadways that we're seeing right now. In fact, a lot of us saw the precipitation move on through. Here's the good news, though. Precipitation has come to an end. Now we're just looking at mostly cloudy skies across the entire area, but what's behind it is the good news and that sunshine that Katie was mentioning that we had left out. Unfortunately, the temperatures are on the cooler side, and we're all starting to fall below that freezing point, except for Charles City, still sitting right there at 32 degrees. We all will be falling below that point, and that gives a chance, especially the places that saw the precipitation, for that refreezing. It's not a secret. It's a significant drop in temperatures from where we were just yesterday, just 24 hours ago. So it is cold outside, temperatures we haven't had to deal with for a while. That is something to keep in mind when heading out. Let's take it outside though. Take a live look over Albert Lee, where we do finally start to see those clouds attempting to break apart. It'll take some time, but the high pressure is moving in. Katie and George.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Well, it's the bill everyone needs to know about.
The First Step Act was passed by the U.S. Senate earlier this week with sweeping bipartisan support. That's 87-12.
You don't see that very often, and here are a few key points in the bill that would reform parts of the criminal justice system. It would ease federal sentencing restrictions when it comes to nonviolent perpetrators, and judges would have more discretion when sentencing drug offenders. It would also boost prisoner rehabilitation efforts and reduce life sentences for some drug offenders with 3 convictions to 25 years. And while it is gaining widespread support from politicians, we're finding out not everyone is in favor.
KIMT News 3's Katie Hinker reports.
While this bill would impact prisons on the federal level, it has a definite trickle-down effect. I talked with Cerro Gordo County Sheriff Kevin Pals about how this bill would impact our local communities.
Unfortunately, none of us know who's going to reoffend.
Sheriff Pals points out federal criminals who may be released early under the First Step Act would be coming back to communities in North Iowa and southern Minnesota. While he hopes they will be rehabilitated and won't reoffend, there is no guarantee. The bill also refers to drug crimes as being nonviolent, but Sheriff Pals has an issue with that.
A lot of people's opinions on drugs now, it's not a violent crime anymore. Unfortunately, how many lives have that drug dealer or that drug user influenced in other people's families?
The sheriff also says many violent crimes are committed while people are under the influence of drugs, and says we need to do a better job of getting people help.
We need to work together, law enforcement, judicial system, social services, medical. We need to work together to help these people, because there's a lot of people falling through the cracks, and nobody's got the right answer, because if we did, we wouldn't have this problem in America.
The First Step Act now goes to the House for consideration, and once they approve it, it will go to President Trump's desk to be signed into law. In Mason City, Katie Hinker, KIMT News 3.
Now, the First Step Act would expand job training and programs in an effort to reduce repeat offenses.
The House is expected to give its approval yet this week. Well, a new ban on a gun accessory would not only mean stopping future purchases, but current owners would have to hand them over too. A potential ban on bump stocks is moving forward. A bump stock allows semi-automatic weapons to fire as if they are automatic weapons. Anyone who already has a bump stock would have to turn it in to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. We spoke with one Mason City gun store owner who says he's already removed them from his shelves. Still, he's shocked bump stock owners would have to turn in accessories they already own.
Basically, they're considering this a machine gun now, so you can get it re-registered as a machine gun, and then you're okay. Except if you live in Iowa, we can't own machine guns as individuals, so it really leaves everybody who's bought one in Iowa either in trouble or out of the investment money.
Well, Hart says there are several other ways to manipulate a gun to shoot like a fully automatic weapon, so he's not sure how effective the ban will even be. Well, the push is on to ring the Salvation Army bell as much as possible.
Just 5 days away from Christmas, and a North Iowa branch is tens of thousands of dollars away from its goal.
KIMT News 3 at 6, live from Rochester. Your local news with Katie Lang and George Mallet. Tracking storms with Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox. This is KIMT News 3, local news from your community. We are coverage you can count on.
Well, the crisp jingle of bells means one thing during the holiday season: Salvation Army bell ringers. But those ringing bells are not coaxing shoppers to donate as much this year.
The Salvation Army is finding itself well below its seasonal target goals. That includes the branch in Mason City. KIMT News 3's Alex Jurgens is live at Shopko, where Ringer has spent all day collecting donations. Alex?
Katie and George, Shopko here has been quite a hotspot for giving. In fact, there's still some bell ringing and caroling going on right now inside. But the Salvation Army is a little bit disappointed in total donations so far this year. And I spoke with a longtime bell ringer who wanted to share his thoughts.
If you've ever made a holiday season stop at the Shopko in Mason City, you've surely walked by Charles Seifert.
Well, I practically know everybody in Mason City.
The longtime volunteer has been bell ringing for nearly 60 years. He's passionate about helping out during the holiday season. He has noticed a little bit of a dip in donations this year, despite a lot of holiday shoppers.
People have to spend more for groceries nowadays, and they got higher bills when they do any repairs to their houses. And just taking care of a home is expensive too. You just can't give everything to charity, you know. And there's other charities that need help too.
Now, the Mason City Salvation Army tells me that they're just a little shy under $20,000 from their goal of $95,000 by Christmas. And still, volunteers are determined to keep that momentum going to make sure they reach their goal on time for Christmas. Live in Mason City, Alex Jurgens, KIMT News 3.
All right, thank you, Alex. The Salvation Army is still asking for volunteers to ring the bell and man kettles. If you're looking for a place to donate some time this season, there is your solution.
Well, earlier this year, there was much debate over work requirements for food stamp recipients as part of the latest farm bill. The work requirement didn't survive, but the president is still eager to toughen requirements for all recipients. The U.S. Department of Agriculture introduced a proposed rule that would limit the ability of states to independently allow food stamp recipients to avoid work. Janice Shute of Mason City is a recipient.
Our budgets are so limited that we're not having steaks. We're working to find out which protein that we can get the cheapest. And the steaks are not it.
For his part, Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue claims the proposed changes could save taxpayers $15 billion over a 10-year period. It is officially winter tomorrow, meaning you should be lacing up your skates, maybe even grabbing your stick and puck to hit the local ice rink.
But multiple hurdles are making that impossible for some youngsters in Pine Island.
Plus, the wintry precipitation has moved out, and despite it, we're seeing nice clear roads. Will that be the case coming into the holiday weekend? I've got the answer right after this.
We track storms to alert you first. This is KIMT Storm Team 3, weather coverage you can count on.
Well, welcome back, my friends. What an interesting Thursday we've had. Some of us seeing that wintry precipitation, some of us staying dry, but all of us dealing with the cloud cover and some cooler temperatures. Mason City also included. Mostly cloudy skies right now. We're not going to see those clouds start to move out until we slip on into Friday, but more on that in just a moment. This is a live look over US 52 in Rochester. Traffic moving smooth. The roadways, however, are on the wet side because Rochester, one of the areas that saw most of that precipitation today. So with the threat of refreezing sticking around in our heads, let's take a peek at Storm Tracker 3 Doppler radar, where again, the precipitation has moved out. The cloud cover is sticking around. Now onto the sunshine that I mentioned. The cold front, as it moves away, the high pressure comes to play. It's going to be helping to clear out a lot of those clouds. And by Friday, we're going to be looking at some nice sunny skies once again. So get to enjoy the sunshine. However, the temperatures taking a hit from that cold front. Much cooler than where we were yesterday around this time. 31 in Rochester, 32 right at that freezing point in Charles City, 29 in Mason City, 28 in Albert Lee. So a lot of us under the freezing point. So those who did see some of that precipitation, there's a chance for refreezing on the roadways. And the winds helping to bring in that cooler air. As the front passed, it transformed our winds, now coming in from the northwest, fairly strong, around 21 miles per hour on the surface in Charles City, a couple of 20s across the board. Sky Tracker 3, though, is going to pick up on that high pressure as we come on into the overnight, still dealing with the mostly cloudy skies. It's not until we start to wake up on Friday, head out to school and work, that a lot of those clouds lift, get thinner, and we get to enjoy the sunshine for our lunch breaks and ultimately into the early afternoon. Now, as we continue into the evening, the clouds start to come back, and with it, a chance for some light snow returning for the weekend. Now, we're going to jump a little bit further. After Christmas, tracking a system that's going to be moving in. There are 3 possible paths with this system. If it heads to 1, we're looking at a warmer system. A lot of rainfall. Heads to 2, it's going to be a bit cooler. We see that chance for a lot more snowfall. And if it tracks to the south, we'll be remaining mostly dry, but we'll be fairly chilly. This will affect traffic and travel after the Christmas break, so stick with the forecast. We'll give you the latest on that as we continue through the evening and ultimately through the next week. Overnight forecast now, above average, but a bit cooler. We're falling into the 20s with gusts up to 30 miles per hour, definitely possible. The 7-day forecast now where the weekend is always in view. As we head on into the first day of winter, there's that sunshine I mentioned. The temperatures holding fairly steady as we approach into the Christmas season, but there's that system that we're keeping an eye on Wednesday and Thursday. Looks like a mix of rain and snow. Keep with the forecast. We'll have the latest. All right, Katie and George, back to you.
All right, Sarah, we're going to return to some breaking news. We have an update to the story we had at the top of this newscast.
We're learning a Minnesota state trooper was assaulted in connection to the pursuit that ended in Albert Lee. KIMT News 3's Isabella Basco joins us live with the details. Isabella?
Katie and George, some breaking news that we just got in today. So a Minnesota state trooper was injured this afternoon during a traffic stop on Interstate 90 west of Highway 254 and east of Blue Earth. I'm inside of Sportsman Tavern right now where the incident happened, where the 2 suspects were arrested here just before 3 o'clock in Albert Lee. So some other news that we just got from officials is that the trooper was transported to United Hospital in Blue Earth. He was reported to be conscious and stable when transported. The names of the trooper involved and the 2 suspects will be released as soon as possible. As we have said all day, this is an ongoing investigation. I am still here live in Albert Lee getting some more information. As soon as we get that information to you, we will get back to you. But for now, reporting live in Albert Lee, Isabella Basco, KIMT News 3.
And Isabella's source on that is the Department of Public Safety. Thank you.
All right, and as she mentioned, we'll continue to bring you the latest on this developing story. Well, if you were hoping to lace up your skates and hit the ice rink in Pine Island this winter, you may not get the chance. Take a look. This is where the temporary rink is put together every year on school property. But this year, the school is no longer running the rink. City Administrator David Todd tells KIMT the city and school are in the process of finalizing a legal agreement for the rink to remain on school grounds, but be operated by the city. However, time is running out to get the rink ready for skaters.
Well, a new set of rankings for Iowa high school wrestling out today, and some local teams are moving on up.
Plus, we'll preview our high school hockey and basketball coverage. That's all next in sports.
We're only 5 days away from Christmas, and many high school teams are getting their final games in before the holiday break. Here's a look at what's going on tonight. Starting with boys hockey, the John Marshall Rockets will be hosting the Henry Sibley Warriors. Puck drop is set for 7:30 in Rochester. We'll have highlights from this one at 10. Friday is usually the big day for high school basketball, but there will be several teams on area courts tonight. Primarily Byron and Pine Island. That's the game that we'll be at. We will have highlights from that one at 10. The Bears home against Pine Island. That one starts at 7:15. Some of the other games going on tonight: Cass and Manorville in Winona. The Grand Meadows Superlarks are hosting Fillmore Central, and Lanesboro hosts the Goodhue Wildcats. All of those games are scheduled for 7:15. On the girls' side, Byron is at Pine Island. The Triton Cobras travel to Blooming Prairie, and Lanesboro will take on Kingsland in a Southeast League game. The Iowa Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association has a new set of rankings out today. In Class 1A, the Lake Mills Bulldogs are all the way up at number 4. Central Springs also made it into the rankings. They check in at number 14, and if you'd like to see either of these teams, both are hosting meets tonight. 5 area teams made it into the Class 2A rankings, with New Hampton, Turkey Valley, Clarion, Goldfield, Dow's, and Osage all in the top 10.
Well, still to come, a final check of your foggy and damp forecast after the break.
Well, welcome back, everyone. So tracking a bit of snowfall as we get into the weekend, so something to keep in mind for travel, but it's looking light. What I want to draw our attention to is Wednesday and Thursday of next week. A bigger system is on the way.
All right, we'll definitely be watching that. Thanks for making us your choice for news.
We're back here tonight at 10. Hope you'll join us. Good night.